And you have to understand what your story is, but you also have to understand how does that relate to your customer story, right? Because every customer is different. They have their story. And you have to find ways to connect that story. You can't go in the house. We're all very familiar with some of the organizations that have been out there in the 90s, and even they still exist today. And they teach a sales process that teaches kind of to the back of the room, right? Where it's just so standardized, and we're going to pull out, our book, our presentation book, our flip book, or our posters, and we're going to tell the same story over and over and over again. We have one story told the same way to everybody all the time. And that's not what we're talking about here. I mean, you have to understand your story, and then depending on your audience, you have to adapt it and tie it to their story. So you really have to understand their story. Whereas most contractors, they can't wait to get to the part of the sales process where they get to tell their story, because that's where they're comfortable and that's where they live. But that's why there's also this disconnect. And so what we have found over the years is I become a fan of the customer story, and then I understand my story like Gary's talking about, and then I see what parts of it are relevant and salient to that customer, and I tie that in. So for example, I was with a client just this past week, and a very large company. They also have multiple verticals. One of the biggest ones they have is real estate, but they're also big into fuel oil, propane, security, everything, tree service. And they recently bought an HVAC company, and we acquired 2 salespeople. One of them is the former owner, and one of them is his former salesperson. And so I was riding with this gentleman, Dan, and I said, okay, we have a story as a company, right? This company's been in business since 1977. They bought the old Esso home fuel heating oil business from Esso back in the day. And I said, but you have been in business for a long time, and you sold your business to this business. I said, so there's a story within the story, right? So not only does the company have a story, but you have a story as an individual, right? As a technician or as a salesperson when you're in front of a homeowner. And so I said to this guy, Dan, I said, so what's your story, Dan? And so he just kind of rattled off his lineage, his history, his chronology, if you will. And I said, well, that's not going to really connect with a homeowner. I said, so when you're working for this company, so what would be a story that you would think would be impactful to me as a consumer, now that you basically no longer represent your brand, but you now represent this brand? And so we started kind of kicking that around a little bit. And what we came up with is, he says, I went around the market. I was looking to sell my business. I had several suitors that were looking to buy my business. And he says, I could have sold to any one of these major companies in the market, but I picked this one, and here's why I did. I felt, not only would my customers be taken care of, but my coworkers would be taken care of. And if I can trust them, I believe that you can too. And let me tell you why. And so he could tell his story, connect it to the company's story, and then connect it to the customer's story.